Today, you may think that there is inflation taking place, but the Biden administration is here to tell you that you are saving 16 cents on your July 4th weekend. Also, Pfizer wants to jab your 5-year-olds now with the COVID vaccine. We've got a lot coming up today, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Happy Friday. It is the Friday before, of course, Independence Day weekend. We will not be here Monday, so happy Friday. Happy 4th of July weekend to both of you. I'm sitting here with Jaco Booyens, host of the Jaco Booyens Show, and Eric July, BlazeTV contributor. Do you guys have any fun 4th of July plans before we get into it?
You mean the real Independence Day?
Yes,
I
do.
Not the fake one we tried to celebrate a couple of weeks ago?
The only Independence Day.
Yeah, that one. Yes. Yeah. Now we got some fun things with good people, good food. We call it a braai, not a barbecue. We throw some.
Oh, that's right.
Throw some steaks on the real fire, on wood.
Yeah.
You know, make it smell and taste good.
I like it.
And the kids are going to swim. It's good.
Well, I just like that we're all celebrating 4th of July, even though Joe Biden told us we may not be allowed to if we didn't all get the vaccination. So, never mind. I was going to say something unkind, and I decided not to. So let's get into the headlines of the day. Speaking of Joe Biden, they are being blasted, the Biden administration, on social media today because this is like, I would love to know who is in charge of their social media accounts. This is the most cringeworthy tweet that we have seen in a while, but for multiple reasons, on multiple fronts. The White House tweeted out, planning a cookout this year? Catch up on the news. According to the Farm Bureau, the cost of a 4th of July barbecue is down from last year. It's a fact you must hear. And of course, if you guys are watching this, you see the stupid play on words that they have to you mustard, because they just said catch up on the news. You mustard. Hot dog, the Biden economic plan is working, and that's something we can all relish. So incorporating all of these condiments into their tweet, but also they're tweeting out, again, if you're watching, you can see this. It says, fresh squeezed lemonade, down 2% from last year. Sliced cheese, down 1% from last year. The cost of a 4th of July cookout in 2021 is down. I know, you guys, hold on to your butts for this one. It's down a whopping 16 cents from last year. Golly, congratulations,
what
you guys.
A president.
You go to the grocery store expecting to spend a certain amount, and you actually can put 16 whole cents back in your pocket. Certainly, that was not a deceptive tweet at all, right? Because I'm sure you guys, and those of you who are watching are thinking to yourself, well, hold on. I feel like every time I go to the grocery store recently, I'm actually spending way more on what I'm getting. My receipts are always way higher than they were before. I go to the gas station, I fill up, it's way higher. Everything is way higher all around. That's because these tweets, as you guessed, I'm sure, are highly deceptive for a variety of reasons.
Did they get fact checked by the social media? Does Twitter have this need context or anything?
I have not seen that.
Come now,
Eric.
brother Eric.
Okay.
I'm
You
sure
can't
that you're
bring
shocked.
logic into this conversation.
Okay.
We're talking about the White House.
Yes, I'm sure that you're shocked. So they only selected 12 items to use for their claim that food is costing less and would be less expensive this year. A bunch of common items were not included, including steak, soda, alcohol, condiments, tea, hot dogs, corn on the cob, ribs, etc. Then there were a bunch that actually increased in cost. 2 pints of strawberries, up 22%. Chocolate chip cookies, up 11%. 8 hamburger buns, up 6%. Potato salad, up 3%. Boneless, skinless chicken breasts, up 1%. I mean, the list goes on. But hey, you know what? It's just incredible to me because I'm like, if you're going to lie to people, at least make it a good total. Yeah, 16 cents is like, wow, that deserved a tweet. No, a graphic? Someone actually spent the time to make this graphic for 16 freaking cents?
A very cheap graphic. And
that's reaching, guys.
Couple things I got here. This looks like a very cheap grocery store graphic coming from the White House. And since when is the White House into the advertising business? Number one. And
you got to advertise when you have these results,
and second,
right?
well, you got to campaign hard to prove that you stole the election, you're actually worth something to be here. So they're still campaigning, right? But would you mention, if you know the real number was 16 cents, would you not just go, guys, that's freaking embarrassing. Let's not talk about it.
Right.
Okay? Let's read it. But here's the deal.
Incredible.
Economics just doesn't make sense with this White House. Because listen, America, we're about to spend another $1.2 trillion, right, from your taxpayer money, but we're saving you 16 cents, Eric. When you go to the pump, you're probably up about 30% at the pump, which this is such a lie because there's not a single food item that does not get transported in the United States. So the second you raise the gas price, hello, everything goes up, right? It's embarrassing, number one. The person that came up with the idea, I always role play this, right? Hey, Mr. President, we got a great campaign for you. What is it? We're going to tell Americans we're saving them 16 cents. I thought it was $16 when I read it the first time. You corrected me.
Sell you
and
out.
at $16, I was like, what a freaking joke. $16. 16 cents? Dude,
and
I'm like, we're in the Twilight Zone.
I know. It really is incredible. And Eric, you know, I mean, they literally put in their tweet that this was proof that the Biden economic plan is working.
Right, which was the humiliating thing about it. Because like you mentioned, with basically everything, I mean, anybody that's living in the real world understands the cost of virtually everything, especially meat products.
All
I was going
up.
Went to the wing spot the other day. They're charging like $2 extra per like batch or whatever because of their, you know, it's a wing shortage and everything. Everything you go, I generally do like to cook at home. Everything is up. I know the lady is the one that runs it. I'm looking at the freaking bill like, God dog it, man. She's spending a lot of money.
It's not her fault, Eric.
Yeah, it's not. I gotta remember, like this ain't her issue right now. This is what we're dealing with. And the hilarious thing that, like we talk about economic plans, and this is what the authoritarian left and people on the other side as well, but especially the authoritarian left, where they think they can micromanage things into like more cheaper goods. It has historically, literally never worked that way. That's not how it works. You can't just arbitrarily, we've seen that even with minimum wage. You cannot just arbitrarily set a number or think that you're just going to set a number low and on net like that cost, or rather your dollar is going to still extend the way that it did before. Americans know, whether it be with gas or whether it be with anything else, gas is the one that they can feel probably the most. That's the number one metric that the average American can look at and say that has gone up. Generally, you can compare that to other things. A lot of other things has gone up. It's simply because your dollar isn't, with the inflation, isn't going to go as far as it is. So again, as we've been saying, pretty much every show this week, I've been saying this about how the combination of the borrowing of the money as well as printing of the money is a disastrous policy. And that's what we're seeing happen. The Fed, and in combination with the Treasury, they printed more money than they have, I believe, in the last year, like in comparison to the last like 40 years. It's some ridiculously crazy number. So you couple that with the fact that they continue to spend money that they don't have, of course, your money is going to be what gets devalued. But they can get away with that because that general concept, unfortunately, just flies over the head of the average American.
I so agree with you. And if you're of a nefarious nature to start, and I'm saying this, they are of a nefarious nature. They are here to con the American people. This White House, this administration, the left, and many on the right too. They are here to con Americans. If you are of a nefarious nature, this is actually a great marketing plan because you set the bar to performance really low. You set a standard and you celebrate the standard. 16 cents, guys. You know, what do we have to live up to in quarter number 3? In the second year of the Biden, guys, we saved you 20 cents. Our plan is working. You know, so you set the bar super low. You celebrate the fact that it's low. Just like, hey, you should give Johnny a medal. Why? Because he showed up.
Right.
No, kick Johnny in the backside because he didn't score a goal. You earn it. No, you don't earn it. We're just telling you the bar is so low in this country today that basically you should roll over, die, or just sit on your mom's couch and we'll send you a check in the mail because there's not much to aspire to in this country because 16 cents breaks the bank. It does it.
I'm reading all of the information coming out from the White House today, and I'm like, this is some CCP level propaganda that we have coming out because we have the Cookout stuff, and then we also have White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain today Okay, so let me just read you the tweet first. So he tweeted out this Washington Post article, and he said, Trump's first-year jobs record, 1.8 million new jobs. Biden's first 5 months, 3 million new jobs. And it's supposed to be some diss to Trump because, as we know, Trump, people were working under Trump in record numbers, including minorities, including women. And the tweet obviously is supposed to make you believe that Joe Biden is somehow doing better in terms of unemployment numbers and in terms of job creation. Oh, but I mean, they just kind of completely leave out the fact that the pandemic shut everyone down
and put 40-some million people out of work. I don't see any exclamation there from Twitter saying this actually needs more context. Yeah. It's funny how they don't put that stuff.
Hey, we lost 40 million jobs last year, but we got 3 million. You're actually underperforming. You're underperforming. That number should be 43 million.
That is CCP, and it's gaslighting is more so what it is more the correct term, because what there's what you see, your eyes don't actually see. You're not seeing that at all. It's like, dude, we know we're not stupid. We can compare and contrast, and obviously there's needed context in that. And like you mentioned, it's more of an underperformance, if anything else, when you consider that a lot of spots throughout the country are reopening. But unfortunately, you tied all of this welfare statism to the unemployment and all of that sort of stuff. So people aren't going back to work as fast as they generally would if you just had pulled the plug on that. So if anything, they're underperforming.
How are you telling me that you're increasing jobs at the same week where you're releasing a plan where you're putting 21 million more Americans on welfare?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, and he also...
Which one is it?
I mean, they also had a press conference in which Joe Biden himself basically told employers, well, I guess you better pay people more if you want them to come back to work. So
exactly.
It's like,
he's an economically illiterate person.
Completely.
And when you've been in government for that long, you don't have to obviously play by the economic laws that generally all of us have to play. I mean, the economic law is what it is.
Yeah.
But when you're part of the government, the institution that steals from people to subsidize their employees, you don't feel the brunt of a lot of what it is that you do in terms of your policies. And this is why the American government, in terms of how it's set up, and generally, I guess, other states in the West, it's the same idea, but it's moronic when you consider they decide so much on how our economic activity, what is to be deemed as legitimate, let's say that, while also they don't feel the brunt of virtually anything it is that they can vote themselves of raise. It's like not even within their own interest to even have any sort of success, because in that would mean that, well, the individuals don't need them, and they would see that. So if anything, what they need is for you to be dependent on them. But when they do have these disastrous policies, and that's exactly what they are with this welfare statism and the economic regulation, it's disastrous policies. And when you couple them together, but they don't feel the brunt of that. Hardly ever do they feel the brunt of it. But the American people, the general person who opens, the people that actually keep this country moving, they're the ones that hurt because of this.
Yeah, that's where
100%, because there's no cause and effect. There's no consequence to anything they do. There's no way to measure performance for them.
Yeah.
They throw it out there. For instance, when last did Joe Biden write a paycheck? When last did he pay himself last and pay his employees first? When last did he personally worry about feeding his kids based on where he's manufacturing? They're out of touch. When last did Anthony Fauci actually see a patient? 15, 16 years ago. The last president employs people, literally pays paychecks, literally develops, manufactures something, builds something. You may say, well, it's golf courses, whatever, hotels, whatever. It's employing people. They're out of touch with reality, Eric. And so therefore, any policy they make, it's just a policy. It's like vapor. It's like farting in the wind. Literally. Joe Biden farts in the wind. There's the one for you, okay? It's like saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I do it and it has no consequence. Yep. No, it does. It affects American lives every day.
Absolutely.
All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Bonner Wines. It's Friday. It's time for happy hour. And if you are like me and you like to have some wine, maybe have a drink every once in a while, here's how to make that drink 10 times healthier. Down in Argentina, they make this dark red wine from the Malbec grapes, which I've told you they're grown at like 9,000 feet. So they've lab tested these wines that are grown that high and found that they contain up to 10 times the levels of the longevity and heart health nutrient called resveratrol. So resveratrol is something that pops up all the time on heart health, brain health, longevity. It's good for you, all right? The wines also have 90% less sugar, fewer chemicals, fewer additives. It goes great, these wines, with a steak, but only cook them medium rare because that is the only way it is acceptable to cook a steak. In all seriousness, these Malbecs are amazing. They keep flying off the shelves. They cannot keep them stocked, but they've got some in today. So don't sleep on this deal. You can go to cowgirlwine2021.com. They have 50% off their best Malbecs right now. You're also going to get 50% off of the shipping, okay? It's cowgirlwine2021.com. Do it for your health, guys. cowgirlwine2021.com. On the subject of children and throwing them to the wolves, the National Education Association has adopted a measure designed to thwart what they say is the ongoing campaign against anti-racist education. So the NEA will research organizations attacking educators who are just doing anti-racist work, and or use the research already done and put together a list of resources and recommendations for state affiliates, locals, and individual educators to utilize when they are attacked. So they are, basically, if you are a critical race theory opponent, the NEA is putting time and money and research into targeting you, essentially, because this must be taught to the children, is what they believe. Gee, are you guys worried about our kids yet? Because I sure am.
This is to combat the uprising, and it is an uprising. What you're seeing across the country. I spoke at the Frisco School Board, and 3 people were removed by the police by force, by the order of the school board. Only 100%. Nobody threw a punch. I come from a country where you got to really knock a guy before they really pull you off him. I mean, you got to do some damage. A guy walks up, says, here's an email I wrote to the school board. I'm asking you, here's the dangers of critical race theory. Please don't teach us in our school. And he said, I wrote you the email. You didn't respond. Here's the letter in person. They remove him by force, only because he makes an intellectual claim. This is Frisco, Texas.
Yeah, can I so Frisco, for those of you who don't know, Frisco is like suburbia central here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Third fastest growing city in the country.
Yeah.
Exploding.
I mean,
home with the Dallas Cowboys training center. It's insane.
Home of me.
Home of you.
It is,
right?
that is
right?
suburbia.
And so because parents are rising up in these board meetings at school boards and taking CRT particularly as a stance and a point, because just look into what's actually in the critical race theory curriculum. That's what I always tell people. These parents aren't just screaming because they want to scream. They actually took the time, Eric, to go research and read and go, oh, heck no. We're not teaching this to my kid in the classroom, because when it's taught by an authoritative figure, a teacher, it's almost like it's law. That kid, that young little child, 6, 7, 8, very malleable brain goes, oh, God, maybe all white people are racist because they tell me. Or maybe, X, Y, whatever it is, right? So this is a resistance against the uprising. And you're going to see they're going to kick hard because parents are standing up.
Yeah, Eric.
Every time we talk about public schools, I say the same thing. They need to be eliminated. There's not much that I can add, I guess, as someone that's watching this video, or rather the segment, and isn't familiar with my position. The schools need to be abolished. There's no reforming this, guys. Like these guys, and they do it on your dime, which I would think that would be humiliating enough. And this is why you have every right, if you are a parent, to be frustrated because your funds get stole to subsidize this crap, whether it be through property tax or whatever, like we are out here in Texas. But this is something that they understand that they get control of these youngsters. They get control of current and future generations. So, like you mentioned with kids, they're like sponges, right? And I love the way that you word it. because you say that it's almost like it's law when it comes from the authoritative figure, because that's what they teach. This is why a lot of us are against even how we teach people.
Yeah.
We don't teach kids how to think. It's like more of what to think,
Right,
what you're supposed to have. That's how K through 12 was when I was coming up, you know, and so that's a completely different subject matter. But when you add the fact that they're more so introducing things that you don't want your kid to not necessarily be exposed to, it's more like they're going to be exposed to it as if it's like concrete truth.
That's right.
That's a problem.
Yep.
But this is something that it's a mammoth that is so big, it's so massive that I don't think going in and just changing the parts and the moving parts and getting this member of the school board and all of this to try to be in opposition to this, there has to be an effort by way of not only these parents, but these, not just the politicians, but from a cultural standpoint, which is going to be the first indicator anyway. Everything else, it's politics, all that stuff is on the downstream. For people that are in opposition to this, need to be focusing on how do we get rid of this institution that continues to steal from us to teach my son, my daughter, a bunch of garbage. That has to be the focus if there's going to ever be any solution, not just the moving parts, because if anything, parents, that's what you're frustrated at. It's not just the fact, it's not simply the fact that they're teaching bull crap. No, it's that your kids are forced to go to this school if they live in this area, or you have to pay out of pocket to take them into a private school. So you're frustrated at the fact that you're subsidizing this and you don't really have a choice. Right. It's not like if it was a complete market economy. When it came to education in this country, I mean, yeah, there are private schools, but even again, I say this all the time, a lot of those are even based on the public schools curriculum. We don't have a market economy when it comes to education. But if the American people, the parents, could just say, you know what? This is my dollar. I don't like what you're teaching at this school or in this area. I'm just going to take my money elsewhere voluntarily to some other school who ain't teaching that garbage. You would see a lot of change, but that's not what we have here. And this is why I call the indoctrinators exactly what they are. They're the indoctrination wing of the state. I know there's some teachers that watch this. I'm sorry. That's the harsh reality. You are part of the indoctrination wing of the state. And this is why they focus so much on that. You want to find out who the actual defenders of the state, who this big bloated government is, who do they always roll out there? First people, it's the academics every time.
So you should just ask a politician, are you into school choice? You know, and so few of them will say yes.
Even though they'll send their kids to public school.
Oh, come on, of course, across the line.
School.
And you've had personal experiences with this.
Yes,
my kids are very young, and we're moving into that realm, right? And so you're 100% right. When I can't say who is influencing my child, right? I don't have a choice over who is influencing my child. Well, Yako, you do. No, not when you drop that kid at the classroom. Yep. And kids today spend more time with their teachers than with their parents.
Facts.
And by the way,
just by proximity and amount of time, who has the influence?
Well,
the indoctrinator.
And by the way, I mean, this is not like, you can, I'm happy to send my kids to private school, but give me my damn tax money back. Because people go, well, you don't have to send your kids to public school. Well, no, I don't, but I'm still funding. Right, I'm still funding it, not by my own choice.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm going to take your
money back then.
And I'm going to take your power, and I'm going to take your voice as a parent, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to teach your kid. And all of a sudden, your kid comes home one day, and randomly, at the breakfast table, out of your child's mouth, because out of the mouth of babes comes truth, man. It comes, you know what, Dad? This didn't happen, but I'm sure it's happening somewhere in the country. You know what, Dad? We should go around the street and apologize because we were born a certain color or from a certain ethnicity or whatever. And you go, whoa. Wait, where did that come from? And I promise you, I've got kids, young kids, 3 under the age of 6. They remember everything. They don't miss a thing. And much of what they remember depends on who it came from. My kids know when it comes from a stranger, but if it comes from somebody in my group, Uncle Dan or Grandpa or whatever, it's law. If it comes from the teacher or the coach, good night. Come on, man.
And you bring up the great point, and this is what a lot of, I think, parents don't seem to understand, the naive ones, because they're not knowledgeable on that. It's like yes, you can be or think you are the greatest parent in the world, and when your kid is around you, you can teach them things that, of course, are going to be valuable going forward. But most of your kids nowadays are not spending their time with you. Most of their time is in that indoctrination camp. 100%. 5 times a week if there's not holidays, on weekends if they do some sort of extracurricular activity like a sport or something like that. They're at least surrounded by that environment. I think a lot of people undermine that. Like, you can only do so much when you're dropping them off at that camp.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. We got to take ain't that the re-education camp. We'll be back.
Hey, they call it critical race theory.
So while we're on the subject of schools, let's talk higher education for a second, because if you are sending your children to, you want to talk about indoctrination camps.
Look at this woman's eyes, man. I already seen this. I know it.
That's cray.
It's
the acronym is called BSC. You can come up with that term. I've seen them eyes and them women, man. I'm telling you, man. Like, I know we're gonna play it, but America, look at the eyes. That's all you got to pay attention to.
Do we need to help you with girl choice?
I'm good now, but back in the Gap when I was on the market, I know those eyes, man. I've been there, dude. I've been there.
It is what I like to refer to as the liberal crazy eyes, because it's always the liberal women who have this look on their faces.
Run
but
for the hills.
If you're sending your children to higher education, they could become a law professor, for instance, like this woman who studies food whiteness and food privileges and is here to tell you that French food is racist. I'm not making this up. Watch.
I'd like to tell you about the idea of food whiteness in French culture.
By
this, I mean the use of food to reinforce whiteness as a dominant racial identity.
Why are they so
The French meal is often presented as a national ritual to which every citizen can participate equally. But French foodways are shaped by white, middle, and upper class norms. There's a similarity between halal food and the headscarf question. Both are considered incompatible with Frenchness and its racialized universalist ideology. Yet the boundaries of whiteness are policed through daily food encounters. For example, the eating practices of peoples whose racial status is ambivalent, such as Arabs, Maghrebis, and Jews before them, are scrutinized for conformity with white norms. A familiar strategy for them to act white is to eat French, most typically by consuming pork.
Unbelievable.
I don't know why her eyes were so wide.
Because she's something. She's crazy. Again, BSC. That stands for something. Look it up.
I think that you have to be crazy in order to make this assertion that French food is white. Racist. It's too white. Yeah, it's too white.
I talked about this morning, and like the amount of reaching that she was doing when we were reading through it, it's impressive. I mean, you're talking mental gymnastics, Gabby Douglas level.
I mean, it's not going to earn you any money, but it's still impressive. It's quite a feat.
I guess the thing that is worth mentioning, I mean, I know she's speaking to the French people, but I believe she went to the University of Connecticut School of Law, if I'm not mistaken, so university or something. And yeah, she's basically getting paid to preach a bunch of bull crap. Now, going back to the previous segment, it ain't just when I said the academics being the protector of the state, them are the types that I'm really talking about. Yep. The people who, in the event that there was a completely marketized, definitely in higher education, she would not exist. There would be no job for her. These diversity departments, all of this sort of bull crap that would be, these people would be out on the streets forced to get actual real jobs in the event that there was a state in some way, either directly or indirectly, wasn't subsidizing them. But that's why a lot of them exist. Now, what this more so speaks to, I guess, is kind of where we're at culturally, where basically everything is racist. Really, the only time that you can prove something is bad is if you can just say that it's racist. So you've, unfortunately, America and the West have awarded a lot of people with that sort of gaslight. So what you're going to do is just get more of it. So where they can try to find error, they're going to just make it up. reaching, which is what she did. Well, this is whiteness because this extends to this, extends to that, extends to that. I mean, I'm talking Stretch Armstrong, Mr. Fantastic level of reaching to try to figure out or try to pin some sort of racism on friggin' French food. The fact that we even talking about this or discussing this is crazy as all hell, but that's the problem with academia in itself. And a lot of those loony people with the crazy eyes got jobs.
I want to add. I want to get your thoughts, but I want to just add to this. Like,
go.
The French's eating culture has been the central means of racial and ethnic identity formation through slavery, colonialism, and immigration. I mean, you hear that, and my eyes are just like.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry. What? You can't just. She reminds me of AOC. Like, you can't just insert these keywords, these buzzwords into just random
a lot of
arguments.
word salad in what she said.
Yes.
That's the impressive part.
Yes.
Look, I want to say this, right? Okay, so she dresses in all black. Hell, even her toaster is black. Okay, to try and make a subliminal point. And that's subliminal messaging. She's dyeing her hair black, right? She's making this argument that for some reason, wheat in France behaves differently than wheat in the US. And when you grind wheat, we should now bleach the wheat black. And we should eat black bread and only black, chocolate cake and never white chocolate and black cupcakes and black everything, because that means your heart is not racist. If you wear black, but she's as white as snow.
Right.
She's
white. Snow White.
Those are the ones that facilitate.
But she
doesn't like that.
But her group won't allow her to paint her face black.
Right.
Because now you've crossed the line.
Yes.
Because you can only have a certain amount of black as a white person. I mean, this is insanity, guys. We are embracing, it is the land of the misfit toys, politicians. I've now realized they take care of one another because they know if they don't, they'll die out there.
Absolutely.
They will not make it in the world a day. Not a day.
That's why that's why they are the most protect. Like, again, don't take
this is all Ivy League schools. All these professors.
Every single time. That's exactly what it is. They are the great protectors of the state, and that's not by way of accident. The statists always roll them out. In the event that there's some uprising where there's like a prominent group of
bring
people
the professors
they bring them out. The prominent group that's growing of people that are like, let's say, anti-government. They roll out the academics to sit up here and reach and somehow find that, well, these people are bad, because that their bacon basically depends on that institution existing in the way that it does. If it didn't have the power, they would not get the funding to be able to live the lives, these affluent lives that they get to live, to go over and lecture people about how freaking French food is somehow racist because reasons like this person has a fake job. I want people to understand that. That's not real. Like the market's not demanding that people,
Zero.
French, nobody gives a crap about any of that. They are only allowed to exist because they are paid to exist, either indirectly or directly.
Yeah. So I guess the milk business is out of business because milk comes out of the cow white. So we need to feed the cow some chocolate, shake him upside down, make him a brown cow milkshake. And I mean, what in the world are we talking about
First,
here?
the cows are ruining the planet, and then they're racist. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. How dare they? Hey guys, for those of you who are watching on YouTube or Facebook, you may notice that it is in fact the end of the program. However, you're looking at the timing of it and you're like, this is weird, because I feel like there may have been like a whole segment that might be missing. That's because there is. So you gotta be a subscriber to Blaze TV. Otherwise, you're missing out on what the benevolent overlords over at places like YouTube and Facebook do not want you to hear, like Pfizer, which is requesting COVID-19 vaccine emergency approval for kids aged 5 to 11 by fall. That is the news headline. But unfortunately, you're going to miss important commentary if you're not subscribed to Blaze TV. So don't forget, you can subscribe at blazetv.com. If you use promo code NEWS, you will save $10 when you sign up for the year. I'm telling you guys, this is why it is so important, even if you are watching on a different platform, to become a subscriber. We don't know when we're just going to get turned off entirely. All right. So make sure you go to blazetv.com, use promo code news. And by the way, have a fabulous 4th of July weekend. Happy Independence Day. Congrats on the 16-cent savings.